everybody. Welcome to LLK number 5. That is Knit with Laura and Lola. I am Laura Nelkin. I am a knitwear designer and creative whirlwind, and I live in upstate New York outside the Finger Lakes, and Lola is my alter ego. She is super fun. She shows up in these logs whenever she feels like it. I really don't have very much control over her. For those of you who've been following along and know what's going on in my life, I dropped off my daughter Bella at school probably almost a week and a half ago. And I know for a lot of parents out there that transition to dropping your kid off at school is really hard. And I actually was really ready for her to embark on the next journey in her life. She had a gap year this year, so she was home a lot, which was awesome, but I cannot even tell you how clean and awesome my house is right now. And of course I miss her, but we chat a lot, so we are having lots of fun interaction, and I am really excited for her to get to fly a bit and live her own awesome life and not, be in the shadow of what's going on in our house. It's kind of time. It's part of parenting. So that's going on. What's going to be different about this log is that we're pretty used to her being behind the camera, kind of running the scenes. And I have the camera set on automatic, so I'll be able to keep an eye on things, but we're not going to have that interaction, which is kind of a bummer because it was really fun to have her behind the camera and making fun of me. But I will try to stay lively for you. I have a lot to tell you about. Besides that just going on in life, it is summer here, and I keep thinking that maybe it's cooling down, but we are in the middle of another heat wave, so I am wearing a sweater that I'll tell you about in a tiny bit, and I am hot, but I will suffer for the log, so I really wanted you to see the sweater on my body, so I have to wear it, but I'll probably strip down naked. That was Lola. Once I'm done filming, not during filming, don't get excited. So things coming down the pike. First things first, it is the end of August, which means in September, at the beginning of September, the next Lola's Choice kit is going to ship. Super excited about that. They are actually all packed up and waiting to go into their envelopes and get their labels on Monday. They're going to ship out on Tuesday after Labor Day weekend. I think that just makes sense instead of having them ship out right before the weekend. So those will go out on Tuesday. They go out all at once. I post the pattern on Ravelry on probably Wednesday morning. I'll post it, and I always do a spoiler picture first. I am really excited about this kit. I worked with a dyer who I was very excited said yes to me when I asked her for what I wanted to do. We made it work, and it's definitely a labor of love, and I think you guys are going to have a really good time with it. I also got Bella to model for the photos, so that'll be fun to show you those photos because they're really quite sweet. The next thing that's coming down the pike in terms of knitting patterns is the next N Club pattern. So my N Club is this club that only opens for signups once a year, and that's going to open up this year in mid-September for 2019. And I try to keep it open through kind of the beginning of November. I kind of have a cutoff point either for time because of getting yarn dyed or for numbers. And the last kit, sorry I'm losing my words suddenly, the last kit for the N Club for 2018 is, I'm so excited about it. It is really, I actually think it's so beautiful and fun, and I think I showed it to you guys in my bag last time when I was working on it, but I finished it for the photo shoot. My photographer named it Epic, so I actually think that's what I'm going to call it because there were no patterns on Ravelry named Epic. So clearly I'm excited to share that with you guys, and that won't be till a little later in September till everybody gets those kits. So new pattern wise, that's what's coming down the pike. And what's happening right now is everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people are knitting polka together. And polka is my first ever structured sweater knit along, where I'm have broken down a sweater into sections and I'm giving goals and there's prizes. And that is going really well. I feel like people are flying along, asking great questions, challenging me with their questions sometimes, challenging each other a bit. The resources that are getting built out of all of the questions are really, really helpful, and those will always be there. So anytime you want to jump in with knitting polka, know that there's going to be this incredible wealth of information for you. Doing sweater knit alongs like this is a fair amount of work, so I won't do them super often in this very detailed way, but as I do designs that I feel like people are really interested in, I think it will be fun to do more of these as we go into like the winter and spring. So that's kind of what's happening on the knitting front. What I'm knitting right now, once again, I cannot show you. It's in my favorite knitting bag. This knitting bag was actually the giveaway for the last goal for polka. It's got these little llamas on it, and it's just so bright and fun, and it makes me happy. And it is the Ithaca Owl. So this is the second annual Knit Ithaca, which is where Ithaca, people come to Ithaca to knit with me. It's a retreat in my hometown. It launched last March and filled pretty quickly. So keep an eye out for it in the future if it's something that you want to do with me. It's really fun. But I design a pattern for it, and this year I'm designing something called the Ithaca Owl. And I found some yarn I really like. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find a local yarn that was going to work for this project this year. So, but I found some US yarns that are absolutely gorgeous. And I'm working with some new to me techniques. So I ran into something with the Ithaca Owl where I had to email Laura Lee Beltman kind of crying, and she was able to help me incredibly get back on track. If you saw on Instagram, I posted a photo of some really hardcore surgery earlier this week where I had to rip back like 38 rows or rounds and try to rebuild something. And I rebuilt it and it worked, but then after I did that and spent like a day and a half doing that, I changed my mind about something, because that is what design looks like sometimes. I just know that something could be better. So I ended up ripping back those 38 rounds anyway after all of that, but I challenged myself and I had some fun surgery. So that is what's on my needles, pretty monogamously. Can't even say the word. You know what I mean? That is what is on my needles right now. It needs to get done so I can get it to testers and get that rolling before I'm traveling later this fall. I'll feel better if I know that that is running and happening. So I tend to work a little ahead of the game sometimes to avoid stress for myself. Let me see what else is on. That is the only thing on the needles. Oh, the other thing that's on the needles, and I didn't grab it for you guys, so I'm gonna go run and grab it, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm gonna pause you. Just stay right there. All right, I'm totally back. Sorry about that. I was like, I forgot something. I try to gather all the props, but I don't remember everything. So do you guys remember the Lopi sweater I've been working on for a while? That is actually done, and I'm about to put out a test knitting call for that sweater. I'm gonna splash up a super fast photo right here so you can just see quickly what I'm talking about, and then forget you saw that a little bit. But I'm gonna put a testing call out probably next week. I'm waiting to get it back from Kate Atherley, my tech editor. And the photos that we did for the Lopi sweater were done in like 98-degree day in the gorge at Treeman State Park. And it was like so hot, and I forgot a shirt to wear underneath it, so I was wearing Lopi against bare skin, which I can kind of do. I know a lot of people, there's no world they will ever knit anything in Lopi. So I wanted to come up with another yarn to knit a second version of that sweater, which does not even have a name, and that is going to be part of testing, is that we need to come up with a name for it. So I don't know if I told you, but I have a local yarn store now in Trumansburg, in my like tiny little town in upstate New York. Homespun Boutique, which used to be in Ithaca, moved up to Trumansburg just at the beginning of the summer, like middle of the summer. So I have a yarn store that has amazing fabric right in my town, which is super dangerous. But my friend and I went there the other day, and I found some Barocco Catena, which interestingly Lopi is distributed by Barocco, so I'm kind of doing a Barocco project coming up. And Catena is it's a yarn. I've never worked with a chain yarn. It's got a chain construction, it's a bulky weight, and it's a merino and nylon. But what that chain construction does is make it super lightweight and perhaps like a little less pilly than a merino wool sweater would typically be. And I actually was able to get gauge with this, which is cool. So for people, I really wanted to find a yarn that would be really similar to Lopi, but would feel really great against your skin for people who are like never gonna knit something with Lopi. I also was able to get Gauge with some Quince & Co. linen tape, and I have yarn to knit another one of those. So like clearly I like this sweater coming up because so far I bought yarn to knit 3 of them, and one is knit. I'll probably get a model knitter to knit one, and I'll knit the linen one because I think that one's going to be a little tricksy to knit. So that's like in my brain, things I want to knit. I think it'll be a really good travel knitting, that sweater, so it might come with me this fall. That's Barocco Catena. I have these like little notes, so I'm just gonna not look at you for a second while I look. Oh, what I'm making. I kind of have like a semi format for the log, but I go like that a few times. So what I'm making, I actually got back to my Mississippi Avenue dress by Sew House 7. And you can see that I recut the second half so I don't have a giant dandelion on my left breast anymore, which I did for those of you who saw that. And the only problem is that you can see the elastic right there is gathering in more than it should, and I didn't have a long enough piece of 3/8 inch elastic. So when I go to the dentist on Thursday, I get to go to Joann's and get some more elastic, and then I will be able to finish this up because I feel like it would be really fun for this last little stretch of summer to have a new dress to wear. And then one of the things I did the other day on Sunday, I went to this like sewing circle where it's like kind of like a space where a bunch of women in my town get together and sew, and everybody's doing different projects and you can ask questions. It's really fun. It's with my my new best friend from Clothes Horse Studio. I'll give you guys a link to her. She teaches like local sewing, garment sewing classes. I kind of went through all my fabric, and then I went through some of my winter clothing to think about what things I want to make for the fall and winter. And I kind of got organized a little bit, which was really fun to go through. And I have an embarrassing amount of jersey fabric to make long sleeve shirts for myself. So that's great because you always need layering long sleeve shirts in the winter. What I'm obsessed with, and this like obsession is deep and strong, and Lola is clearly involved in this. Let me just grab another prop here, is eggplants. Look at that, that's gorgeous. We belong to a CSA, which is Community Supported Agriculture. It's about a 5-minute drive from our house, and they have been growing the most gorgeous eggplants. And this CSA is a little different in that you can fill a bag, so you can go in and be like, I just want kale this week. I'm on a kale only diet, and just get kale or onions or carrots. I tend to get a variety of things, but this week, because of a recipe we made over the weekend being so good, I am only getting from them tomatoes, eggplants, and onions. And that is to make a Russian dish called ikra. I think I'm saying that right. It's basically, it's called poor man's caviar. And I think it's called that because of the seeds in the eggplant kind of end up looking like caviar when it's cooked. But it's this, I'm gonna put down this kind of cold and wet eggplant. It is a roasted eggplant dish. So you like roast eggplants for an hour, turning them so they get like slow roasted at like 400 degrees. And then at the same time you caramelize onions, and I added like some smoked paprika and hickory smoked salt and some other things. And then you dice some tomato and take out the seeds, and basically like mix all of that together. Like the eggplant, after it's roasted, it gets kind of like taken out of its skin and chopped up a bit, and then you kind of re-cook that down for a little while and add a little bit of sugar and more salt if it needs it, and then like lemon juice at the end. And it makes this dip that if you like eggplant, if you don't like eggplant, I've just like lost you right now, is so good. And it's something that my mother-in-law has made for us a fair amount over the years. Hers is a little different than how I've been making mine, just because I use garlic and she doesn't use garlic. But she stopped making it for us because I think it was a little too involved, and we've been really missing it. So we are going to I'm going to the farm today, and I'm going to the farm on Friday. We're gonna get like a ton of eggplants, and then once this heat breaks, we are going to make eggplant dip, ikra, or caviar until the cows come home, and then I'm gonna can it and we're gonna have it this winter. I'm a little worried I'm just gonna eat it all before I can it, but I think I'll make a big enough batch that there will be enough to can and eat. And it is so good. Oh my God, it's so good. Yay. So that's what I'm obsessed with, actually. Not even a crafting thing, that's a making thing. You guys know, those of you who cook, when you're in the kitchen a ton, it's just like knitting or crafting or making. There's a total zen to it. I listen to podcasts, it's fun. So that is what's happening on the kitchen front. I will give you guys a recipe for that in the show notes. I do it a little differently than the recipe I'm listing because I add paprika, and I don't do the hour-long cook down with the lid on. I skipped that one step. It's like step number 3. I basically go from adding in the eggplant and putting it back in the pan and just cooking it down for 20 minutes. That seems to be sufficient to like kind of get any of the bitterness off of the eggplant without that additional cook down. The other thing I'm obsessed with is some travel planning. So some of you might have seen that I released a trip to Scotland next March, and that filled kind of in the blink of an eye. Thank you so much. Super excited. We're gonna go on a knitting tour of Scotland that involves a little bit of whiskey right after Edinburgh Yarn Fest in March. And once that filled, I started working on the next thing, which is going to be a cruise to Alaska next summer that I have Bella totally tied down to coming with me. So I think that will be a really fun way to end up on a cruise with like-minded people. And what I'll do for that is I'll like design something for the trip that everybody can knit together, and then I'll be there to help you with it. And then we'll do some kind of like knit nights and like, you know, bring a problem, talk about like sweater fitting, but not a lot of really structured classes, because I found with cruises that there's like too much to do, and if you get stuck in class all the time, it's no fun. But what's really fun is having a group to eat with of people that are like-minded, that you're gonna enjoy being with, and be able to like get off the boat and do different things together. So that is in the works, and hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks I'll have something ready to launch for you. It's looking like it'll be the end of July, and I think the sailing we're looking at goes out of Vancouver and goes to Denali. There's like an optional extension to Denali if you want to do that. So that is what I'm working on. The other thing I'm working on is that I am going to Scotland in October with a knitting group, which I'm very excited about. And I know a few of you are out there watching this, and I bet you're as excited as I am. So I've been working on maps for that, but my husband and I decided to go to Amsterdam first and have like a little getaway together. So we've been looking at places in Amsterdam, and then this is gonna be a really good segue into my sweater because I'm super chatty right now. When, I don't even know what that little dance move was. That was Lola. There she was again. When I'm in Amsterdam, Stephen and Penelope, which is Stephen West and this woman Malia, who I met in Shetland last summer, own a yarn store together in Amsterdam, and they asked me to be their designer of the month in October. So I'm going to have an event when I'm in Amsterdam, and Max and I were trying to figure out where to go, and we were going to the Faroe Islands, but it was like too much travel for the amount of time we were going to get to be there. We needed more time on like each end to really enjoy it. So we just decided to go to Amsterdam for a week, and we are renting an apartment, and we're going to do day trips. I've never been to Holland. I know it's going to be gorgeous, and I think it'll be really relaxing and fun to be in a European city for a week in October. It doesn't sound painful, right? Sounds kind of fun. So we've been planning that, and I just feel like lots of travel planning right now, thinking about some other trips, tours going forward into 2019. I'm still obsessed with the Faroe Islands. It's just feeling a little more challenging to do the legwork to learn more about it before I put together a knitting trip there. I kind of like to really know a place before I put knitting trips together. So obsessed with that. Segues into the sweater. When I'm in Amsterdam, Stephen and Penelope asked me to send some samples to be designer of the month, and They asked for novelty, which I did with in a yarn that is distributed by Craftsy called Cloudborn, and that felt a little weird to send to Stephen and Penelope since they tend to work with like smaller indie dyers and yarn makers. So I was like, you know, I have some Hedgehog Fibers DK and Salty Dog. Let me see if I can get Gauge and make a novelty out of that. And I totally was able to get Gauge. Some of you know that I got a knitting machine, or maybe don't. I got a knitting machine last winter, or maybe the winter before, and I finally got it going last winter, and it's super hard and complicated. Like, knitting machines are not easy. I've taken classes, I wrap my brain around it. It's hard. And I decided to see, maybe it was 2 years ago that I got it, if I could knit the body of novelty on my machine and then do the side panels, see those like little panels over here, by hand. And at first when I was doing it on the machine, I kind of knit it all just in stockinette stitch, and then I laddered down and did this like insane surgery for the lace on the shoulder. And then when I was at SSK, I was chatting with some people about machine knitting, and somebody was like, why don't you just hand manipulate the stitches? So I ended up doing that and being able to do the whole body of the novelty. I'm going to kind of stand up so you guys can see it a little better. What I really like is I decided to go, oh, you can see a rainbow from our prism. I decided to go cropped with this novelty instead of the length, so I made it shorter. And part of that is because a knitting machine bed only has so many needles on it. And since I'm working side to side for novelty, I basically almost used up every needle on the machine to start here and go up and over. Interestingly, I think this sweater has more flaws in it than any hand knit sweater I've ever made, because I didn't see one or two flaws until like way after I was done knitting it, versus when you're hand knitting, you can see things way more easily, partially because when you machine knit, you're always looking at the back side of your work. So I'm very aware of that there's like a stitch over here in the lace panel that is so completely wrong. And I just decided to let it go, partially to be like, maybe machine knitting's not easier and faster and better, right? It's like it's good for the learning to accept the you know, I lost all my words. I have no idea what it is, but it was totally interesting to me. I love making it. And then I did the side panels when we brought Bella down to Baltimore to go to school. So this is my new novelty. It is knit in Hedgehog Fibers, Salty Dog. I'll get some photos of it up on Ravelry. I have to figure out how to take photos now. I lost my photographer. I really love it. It's a little too hot to be wearing today. I'm actually kind of sad that it's going to be at Stephen and Penelope's for a month, and that I'm not going to be able to wear it in Scotland, because I think it would be the perfect layering piece with a long sleeve shirt underneath it. Sorry about that noise. My dog just hobbled over here and then hobbled away again. Poor little girl. So that's novelty. And finally, we need to do the giveaway from last week and then talk about a swap. So let me go get that together for you. Hey. So the winner from the last log's giveaway is Snoopy25, and you're going to win that skein of Stranded Dye Works yarn that I got at SSK. I had asked you guys about doing a swap, and it sounded like a bunch of people are interested. I'm going to come up with something that is simple. It's not going to be like a dyeing yarn swap. Maybe there'll be some stitch markers included, or something simple. I like doing swaps that have us bring a little bit of our home into the swap. So, and something that helps you kind of stalk and get to know the person that you're assigned. So I'll come up with some way of like, so you learn a little bit about each other, and then you find some goodies from your home that you think will inspire somebody to learn about you as well. So I'll announce that probably next week or the week after. And I'm not going to do a giveaway this log. I don't think that I'm going to do giveaways every log. It's going to get a little overwhelming to keep track of and expensive to do shipping, especially because I like my giveaways to be open internationally as well. So I'll do them as I have something that feels like the right thing and makes sense in the moment. And clearly I don't have anything right now. I do have giveaways or gifts, prizes, whatever they are, part of the Polka Cow. So those are happening in there right now. Thank you so much for listening to me yammer on. It is fun to catch you up on all that is going on in my crazy world. And have a great week. Stay cool if you are somewhere hot. I am going to take off this shirt the moment I stop filming. Take care.